Hey everyone, how you doing today? As you know, it is Monday. It's part of our expert series. We bring you Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
You're on the road, right? Doing Christmas holiday stuff. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. COVID Christmas, so you can't do the family gathering. So I'm picking stuff up, dropping stuff off. And, and we have people spread all over the place. So today I'll be on the road for about 7 hours.
Wow. Well, thank you for giving us 45 minutes or so of your time to do this. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Mondays with Michael. I look forward to this. We always have great discussions.
I appreciate that. Me too. I love all of these discussions. The first thing I want to do is I don't know about you, but I always get kind of reflective during this time of year. It really came from
Hmm.
my sales careers. We're usually are winding down this part of the year, and I'm always and as a leader, you're not only trying to finish a year, but you're planning another year. So I was always caught reflective this time of the year, and
Yeah.
I think 2020 is one of those years you need to look at. Um, but I want to, if we can, look at it as a learning lesson. I think a lot of people are
Hmm.
going to talk about 2020 just being a terrible year, and it was. But I don't want to look backwards. I want to look at the year and go, okay, what can I add to my bag of tricks? What am I reminded of importance? What do I hope others take for this? Frankly, what Greg, you and I can do on our YouTube channels to really help people going into
Hmm.
2021. So I'll start there. What did you learn, or what's the lesson you learned? And we'll just bat it around like ping pong. What's the first lesson you took from 2020?
We should have been in the hedge fund business. We should have been in the hedge fund investment fund business so we can get free money from the government to reinvest in stocks. That's the biggest lesson of 2020.
Don't bet against the Fed. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Don't bet against the Fed. One,
No, no,
yeah. Go ahead.
good.
No, go please.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so for me, the biggest takeaway of 2020 was the biggest takeaway I had in 2008 and nine.
Hmm.
Back then I was young, I was on the upswing, I was doing deals left and right. It just everything was easy, and I had no clue that something like 2008 and 9 could happen.
Hmm.
And fast forward to 2020, and Bill Gates warned about it. We've had pandemics before, but again, who would have thought that it could have this kind of an effect on the world and the
Yeah.
economy and everybody's life and everybody's business? And this is a very minimal thing so far, and I'm not minimizing anything, but I'm just saying compared to like the Spanish flu,
Hmm.
other things that were much worse where people were just dropping dead instantly, stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's a very different thing, but still extremely destructive to people's lives, the economy. And I've never been through anything like this in my life, so it's to me the lessons are life is precious, it goes by quick, you never know when you're going to get upended, and anything can and will happen at any given time when you least expect it.
Yeah, there's a lot in there that I totally agree with. I actually have a list because I knew this was the topic I wanted us to talk about today. So first one I want to hit that I was on my list was life is precious. For me, this even started before the health crisis. I was in Taiwan in late January, early February. And I remember waking up in the morning. Olivia, my wife, leaned over and said, Kobe Bryant died. Right. I'm a season ticket holder of the Warriors. I'm a basketball fan. I've been that way for decades. And whether or not, you're the whole Kobe Bryant story of his life, that was tragic, right? Six or seven people, in addition to him, lost their life. It's just a reminder, right? Just because he's worth $100 million or whatever it is, and he won a Grammy, and he's arguably one top five basketball player of all time, gone in an instant. And then, of course, the crisis and all the loss of life. And then there was Chadwick Boseman, that actor from Black Panther, who I was amazed by as an actor. He comes out of
Hmm.
nowhere and has stage 4 cancer, and we lose him. And 2020 has been a reminder that life is precious. Don't take yourself too serious. Remember others, and that's really been a pivot for me. Is you know think about others, right? Give, serve, all of that, which is something I know is important to you. I mean, first interview or second one we did, you talk about service to others. And if you're the CEO, you serve, and you really helped hammer that home with me. But those are ones. And then the other one you talked about is like you, it wasn't, yeah, easy's okay. I think it was very straightforward, kind of 03, 04, 05, 06, and then out of nowhere, the Great Recession. And it got hard. And like you, I didn't
Hmm.
see that coming. And yeah, it just I think all of that is really good. And then the last one I'll throw out there to maybe we kick around is when I look at other people and I'm really trying to help and inspire the importance of an emergency fund, right? It's talked
Hmm.
about Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman and all these folks, but it's never, you never really think about it in seriousness until a crisis happens. And I just want people to realize while 2020 is unique and hopefully never to be repeated in our lifetime, I hate to tell you this, but we're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 more recessions in your lifetime. So don't skimp on your emergency fund. That's something I take away.
Yeah, and this pandemic, won't be the last from what the scientists tell you. There'll be another one. But the lessons are, of 2008 and 9, leverage. So reserves and leverage, the lessons of now are reserves and leverage, right? Don't be over leveraged in your life, in your personal balance sheet, in your business, in your real estate assets, and make sure that you have reserves to weather the storm, and be prepared for anything that can and will happen. The rule of thumb used to be you want to have 6 months worth of living expenses in the bank. I think now people have seen you probably need to have a year or more
Hmm.
of liquid reserve asset, cash in the bank at all times, just in case anything happens. And you don't want to tap your available credit. You want to keep that available as well, so that you have cash reserves and you have available credit, to kind of get you down the road, quite a bit if you need to. And, over leverage is a very bad thing in every aspect of the game. I mean, that's, what causes banking crisis, and M&A back when companies were doing leverage buyouts, that caused a big problem. Pre 2008 and 9, and then, '08 and '09 was real estate over leveraged. And, here we are now in 2020, and we're getting over leveraged in financial assets. And, there's going to be, a piper to pay at the end of the day there. So, back to the whole thing about service and leadership and things like that. I do talk about bottom up leadership. The leader is at the bottom of the pyramid. You flip it upside down, and you're serving everybody in your organization. Selling is serving. Everything that we do as human beings in a business and in your life, you're serving somebody else. If you're in a family, you're serving your family members. If you're in a company, you're serving your company. If you're in the service, military, you're serving your country. But at the end of the day, it's all about service. And what the takeaways of all this is that relationships are the most important thing in life. Everybody talks about relationships in terms of business and networking and things like that. At the end of the day, it's all about relationships. It's the most important thing in life. It's the only thing you have of means, or of meaning at the end of the day. Like you said, you can be worth hundreds of millions, hundreds of billions. You can be worth $1 trillion. You're going to die.
Mm.
You're going to die. And the only thing that you have at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, I don't care how much you've got. You can have all of the money, all of the property. You could be the king of the world. When you're on your deathbed, it's the people around you. That's the only thing that's going to matter. And you hear it over and over and over with people at the end of their lives, laying on their deathbed. And I've seen a few of them. And that's what they talk about, is those relationships,
Mm.
what they woulda, shoulda, or did do, either one. And that, to me, at the end of the day, at the end of my life, and I did something on fear the other day. One of the last things I want to do is be on my deathbed or be meeting my maker, and thinking about what I could have done, what I could have been, who I could have served,
Mm.
those types of things. So that's the stuff you don't want to take for granted. And 2020, for some people financially, it's going to be the best year of their lives, and for others, it's going to be the worst year of their lives in a lot of different ways. And my dad died a few years ago. He was in his 70s. He was 73. He was healthy, lean, in good shape, played golf every day, volunteered at his church, the whole 9 yards. Out of the blue, in January, I got a text from my mom that said something wasn't right. He had a brain tumor, grade 4, stage 4 glioblastoma,
Mm.
and he didn't make it 6 months. 73 years old.
Wow.
And people live into their 90s now that are in healthy, good shape like him, non-smoker, non-drinker, worked out, the whole 9 yards. And I watched him whittle away to nothing in 6 months. And at the end of the day, all he had around him was family and some friends.
Mm.
That's it. You ain't taking anything out of this world
Mm.
except other souls. That's it. That's all
Right.
you can take with you. So anyways, long story short, when you're thinking about that journey and you look at a year like 2020, and you think about what you take with you moving forward. To me, and in my stage in my life, especially, and I started this before the pandemic, my life mostly and entirely and continuing forward is all about impact.
Mm,
How can I impact others? Just like you with your book and with your course and with your podcast and what you're doing. That we're at a stage in our life now where the impact that we can make, the people that we can serve, the people that we can help is way more important than any real estate deal you can do, any amount of money you can make. That is the most important thing. If what we do every Monday and what you do every single day
mhm.
helps one person change their life for the better, that's worth it.
Oh, I love that. I agree with all of that. The other thing I think you hit on right when we opened about open or being in the hedge fund business that I think is real is
Yeah.
in order to be in the top side of the K-shaped economy, which we've been talking about for 6 or 9 months, there's only one piece that we should remember, and that is owning assets is good. Conservatively financed assets, right? So if you own homes or multiple real estate, good. If you were in the stock market, good. And if you don't, you likely aren't doing as well. Maybe there's a few exceptions if you're in the right industry or you have the right small
Mhm.
business. But for most people, if you go back to February and you looked at their balance sheet and said, "Hey, do you have any conservatively financed rental properties? How are you in the stock market?" You would probably know how they're doing today in December, right? And
Mhm.
people need to remember that, right? You don't have to own hundreds of units. I talk to most people just about getting to four. If you own
Mhm.
four rental properties going into this crisis, sure, there's noise around the eviction moratorium and forbearance and all of that. But to our earlier point, if you have reserves, you'll get through it. Um, but you're in a much better shape. I mean, I shared a chart. I think I did it on Instagram and my face or on my YouTube channel where they did the 50 states and they highlighted how much single family homes have gone up roughly in each state. California's gone up $34,000. It was second place
Mhm.
to Washington, which was like 38 grand. The lowest was North Dakota at 5 grand. The takeaway from that is if you own some assets, right? More than one, right? If you own four, you're living pretty good, right? Four times 38 grand's roughly 152,000 bucks. So it's
Now these are tangible assets, and I'll qualify. So maybe it's
sure.
not hedge funds. Some of the hedge funds struggled, but the banks, the
Yes.
trading floors
I
of
knew
the
what you
banks
meant.
are the
Yeah.
ones they're making a fortune, and they were the ones that were given the money zero interest, so they could go out and lever it up and trade.
Yeah.
And they were allowed to do some things they shouldn't be allowed to do because they were creating these things that the Fed was just buying,
Agreed.
corporate bonds and this, that, and the other. So that's really where you wanted to be. But so to that point, you can't fight the Fed because they're pushing you into risk assets. But at the end of the day, stocks can be worth zero. They can vaporize overnight, and they have. Companies can go out of business overnight with nothing left.
Hmm.
Gold can become worth zero because you can't take gold to the store and spend it. And if you have economic Armageddon and the dollar's worth zero and all that, gold's going to be meaningless.
Hmm.
What's going to be of value is if you grow food, if you control fuel, if you have housing,
Hmm.
if you have clothing, shelter, medical care, if you have those types of things, the core things that people need to survive. And what did we learn in this pandemic? We learned what is economic Armageddon proof, what is pandemic proof. And that is, general basic health care, food, gas. Obviously, gas contracted because people weren't traveling as much, but you still needed it,
Hmm.
to get goods and services from point A to point B,
Hmm.
transportation to move those goods and services, and the real estate assets that housed those goods and services: food, fuel, medical care, and shelter. So when you look at the end of the day, what do you want to own that can't be ever worth zero? It's a tangible real estate asset
Yeah.
that's always going to be something of trade. And if you go back to the beginning of civilization and property as we know it, I mean, all of the wealthiest people in the world were landowners. They had
Yeah.
property.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last thing I want to highlight as we wrap up episode number 1 here that I've taken away from this, and everybody watching this should be true. I hope it's true. You're going to survive 2020. 2020 was bad, right? You're going to survive. And you should take strength from that because for many of you, this will go down as the deepest, darkest crisis we've been through. So congrats, you survived. Now take the lessons and let's go take advantage about what's coming because I think 2021 is going to be a great year. GDP up probably every quarter. It's certainly every quarter better than the quarter before it as momentum builds. And I want to see you get stronger, right? People watching this, I want to see you get stronger in 21, in 22, in 23. So congratulations, you survived. And let's have a great 2021. That's kind of how I want to finish this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on board. And remember, you're in service. You're exchanging something of service and benefit to somebody for value in the business world, whatever it is. Okay, we all have to make a living. Okay, so never ever take for granted your job, your income, your customer, the next sale, that next whatever. It's not always going to be there, as we've learned.
Hmm.
So you want to make sure that you appreciate that which you have, and make sure that you're prepared for it to not be there, and understand what you need to do when that happens, and be ready to pivot. So 2020 can, I mean, we're almost done, a couple of
Hmm.
weeks left. So there's not a whole lot more you can do with 2020, but 2021 can be the best year that you've ever had.
Hmm.
And you want to position yourself from a standpoint of strength, a standpoint of gratitude, understanding and appreciating the opportunities that may come your way in 2021. And maybe think a little bit differently when you have an opportunity that's put in front of you.
Very, very cool. That was very, very well said. I will leave it there. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, man.